this week. And today the Senate's voting for the third time to end the COVID emergency declaration, the very same one that I believe Joe Biden is using for student loan forgiveness. How you make that connection, I don't know. Anyway, Senator Dr. Roger Marshall, welcome back. How are you, sir?
Sean, I'm doing great. And what I remember early on with your show when COVID came out is what Sean Hannity said was ask your doctor. Over and over, that's what you said. That was your message, and that was my advice then. That's my best advice today. So from the medical profession, thank you.
Well, can I tell you what happened to me? And I don't want to make this about me. I'll just very quickly. There were two articles by the New York Times, and I was going to sue them. And I, you know what? I don't have the time or the desire to get deep into the weeds. It takes me away from my job. I'm just too busy. Basically suggesting that if my older relatives listen to Sean Hannity, they'd be dead today. I told people to listen to their doctor. I put people on that might have had different points of view, but they were medical professionals so that people could make up their own mind, Dr. Marshall.
Yes, that's exactly right, Sean, once again. And even today, the advice I would give may be a little bit different than what I gave 2 years ago, but that's exactly what I said, is each patient is unique based upon your age, your medical conditions, the pros and cons, the risks and benefits of this vaccine. We all needed to make a decision with our doctor. And, the pericarditis was very real. We knew that very on the pericarditis is real. Every one of us knows someone, a young person who suffered from that after getting the vaccine. So that was very real. Today, I am excited, though, to end this national emergency declaration. We're going to have a vote on it here later this afternoon. Joe Biden has used this emergency declaration for vaccine mandates, for mask mandates, to close our schools. He closed our businesses. And as you said, also to help pay for student loans as well. This was authoritarian power, 3 years in the making. It's time for it to be done. Even last September, Joe Biden on a CBS 60 Minutes interview said the pandemic's over. So why is it still in effect then? So we're going to get this across the finish line. We'll see if the president will sign it.
Well, we'll see. He's the one that declared it. Are you getting any support from any Democrats?
Oh, we will. So you got to realize this is the third time the Senate has voted on it. We passed it a year ago. Over a year ago, the Senate voted in favor of ending this.
What was the vote count?
That one was like 49 to 48, really close. But and then in November, it was like 69 to 37. I'm close, plus or minus.
So if you get that number, it's almost a veto-proof number.
You got it. Yeah, and it didn't get those good of numbers on the House last week. But we'll see if the president will do what he's going to do with this. At the bottom, at the end of the day, Sean, we still have 7 million able-bodied American men between the ages of 25 and 45 that aren't working, that they're still getting. I didn't talk about Medicaid expansion, so they're getting free health care. They're getting food stamps along with their rents being paid, their energy bills are being paid, their student loans being paid. Why would you go to work with Joe Biden's emergency in effect?
I mean, it's such a good point, and I can't believe we're even here. I would like a full-fledged investigation into Dr. Fauci, the NIH, money given to the EcoHealth Alliance, and whether or not that the NIH, Dr. Fauci knew, because emails from early January of 2020, emails that we got from the NIH later that year. Then we had the Intercept information that came out, 900 pages of information. Do you believe that the NIH knew darn well that this money was going to the Wuhan virology lab? And did they not know? Do you believe they knew that American tax dollars would go to coronavirus and gain-of-function research?
Absolutely, Sean. There is a preponderance of evidence that we can present if given the opportunity. We've looked at over 50,000 documents investigating this, and all the evidence points towards funding of this virus, this gain-of-function research. EcoHealth was in bed, was best buddies with Anthony Fauci over about the 17 years before this virus breakout. EcoHealth received over $150 million from 10 different government agencies. And we found that even some of that was being double funded. The same scientist who was one of the early people to get COVID themselves was being double funded from the NIH as well as USAID. So we're getting close to being able to take all that public, and we're checking our facts, making our list, checking it twice as Santa Claus does. So we're getting there, and I know I wish we had the gavel over the Senate side so we could do it more publicly. But we do have a full investigation underway behind the scenes, and I think everything points to this preponderance of evidence that Anthony Fauci funded viral gain-of-function research via EcoHealth in the Wuhan lab where this virus was made.
You know, I'm glad that people like you and Dr. Rampal are out there. You know, the funny thing is the people that we really didn't listen to were the doctors. Now, there were doctors we put on this program that suggested things that I wasn't sure about because I'm not a medical doctor. But I thought, again, as long as I would couch it with, well, ask your own doctor, be intelligent, ask smart questions. You know, if somebody walked into your office as a patient and said, "Doctor, I tested positive for COVID. I've heard people talking about monoclonal antibodies. I've heard talk about hydroxychloroquine, for example. Is there now it's Paxlovid. Is there anything any treatment therapeutic that you recommend?" Now, if somebody came in and asked you that question, wouldn't you think, wow, this is somebody that's up to speed on what the therapies are for COVID-19, and that would impress you?
You know, absolutely. And being the physician, what I want to do is I want to know your medical history. For instance, some of these medicines, I especially know what your liver function is like. If you drink a lot of alcohol, take a lot of Tylenol, some of the medications outlined might be hard on your liver or your kidney, but it's putting the whole picture together. And, today the monoclonal antibodies probably are not as effective, and we're out there looking for one. The Paxlovid, depending on which strain it is, it may work as well. Look, that's why we went to medical school for 4 years. This is why we did 4 years of residency. I've taken care of literally thousands of pregnant women with a virus. Now, not COVID-19, but a whole list, H1N1, H5N1, herpes, all these other viruses. So you draw upon that knowledge base of taking care of thousands of patients, seeing how viruses react, and saying, well, what I know about COVID-19, gosh, this looks like it was made in a laboratory. How in the world does this virus have a special spike that only humans, monkeys, and cats have, a receptor for that? And then how in the world is only that humans have this furin cleavage site that cleaves the furin site on this, and what's going to work and not work? So even we were in a great world of unknown, but we could still draw upon the vast experiences we've had taking care of people with viruses, especially immune-compromised people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I will never, ever, ever listen to any government official tell me about anything about medicine ever again. I mean, the number of things that they've got wrong is it's incomprehensible to me. And, it's just unbelievable. All right, we continue with Kansas medical doctor and senator Roger Marshall is with us. So tell me a little bit more. Is there anybody that's co-sponsoring this with you? Anybody else? Anything we can do to help you?
Well, it's going to be tough over here without having the majority. But Rand Paul and I are on the Homeland Security Committee, and that would be an appropriate place to get an EcoHealth, go through their grant process, and look and see where the money is following. You can go to marshall.senate.gov. We've got our videotapes. Jim Jordan and I did a videotape together going back through the origins of COVID. Our timeline that we did over 2 years ago is still valid, so I think it's educating yourself. Eventually, we need Gary Peters, who's the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, to say, yes, we need a hearing on all of this. And we can start with EcoHealth without directly going after Dr. Fauci.
Let me ask you a last question about the WHO and the CCP and the latest developments there.
Yeah, you're understating the problem with that, Sean. The head of the WHO is bought and paid for by the Communist Chinese Party. This is one of the first reasons back in January of 2020 I was suspicious of COVID. When I found out Tedros' history, when I found out they were leading the charge to investigate this, and this guy was basically working for China. And by the way, the only one from America on that scientific review was Peter Daszak from EcoHealth. Bells and whistles went off. That's why it's great to be part of the Doc Caucus over here. When I asked the doctors about the WHO and Dr. Tedros, all the antennas went off. all of us said, oh my gosh, we smell a skunk here. Why is the CDC hiding this from us? Why are they telling the press that we have scientists in Wuhan, China, when actually they're in Beijing, China, thousands of miles away? Don't trust the WHO. They're way outside of their lane right now. They need to be focused on clean water, clean sewage, that type of thing. They're way outside their lane right now.
Well, we really appreciate people like you in D.C. in the swamp. I don't know how you do it, but Dr. Roger Marshall, Senator Marshall, I think I prefer to call you doctor. It's almost an insult to say senator these days, just, with some of the people that you're stuck working with every day. But we really appreciate your expertise. You've been a very, very steady voice during this entire pandemic. We really appreciate it. Senator Marshall, Dr. Marshall, thank you.
Thank you, Sean.